is that I am a revolutionary. And you're going to have to keep on saying that.
All right, welcome back to the Real Talk movie review. This week we're doing Judas and the Black Messiah. Directed by Shaka King, co-written by Shaka King and Will Burson, story by Ken and Keith Lucas. Dropped on HBO Max and in theaters this past February 12th. I don't know how many everybody is familiar with after watching the movie, how much more did you look up on Fred Hampton, going forward to see, versus the character versus what you saw on screen?
I went and looked up the span at which everything was happening, because I mean it didn't really give you out of nowhere him and Bill were just good. Like at first he didn't even really rock with Bill like that, and then out of nowhere they solid. And I'm like, what time? So this is majority late 60s, early 70s. I just went and looked up his timeline, how long he spent in jail, and where did they really lock him up for what, $70 worth of ice cream, and they did. So it was just a few things, but I was already vaguely familiar with the story, but I did a little research, but I didn't want to just dive in. I wanted to see what we got out of here today.
Same. I think the most shocking thing was how young he was. I think, being 21, leading, a powerhouse like that, and then the actual government wanting him done at 21, you know what I'm saying? So that's something that I researched and actually was kind of shocked about. I knew a little bit about the story, of course, but I didn't know that he was actually 21, so young. So that's something that I did research and looked into.
Definitely, I heard his name before, obviously, with the Black Panthers and all that. And one thing, without repeating what anyone else said, I had to look up a video of him talking just to see if Daniel Kaluuya pulled off, the way that he's spoken. Oh yeah, solid. Dude was on point with it. So
he's a chameleon.
Yeah, I was like, yo, this dude could get into these roles, man. He killed it.
That accent.
Yeah. I can't really add too much more. Y'all pretty much hit everything. So I would just say that it just makes you want to just look up more. That's all I would say, is that from what I saw. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you were saying like age, as far as, him being 21, William O'Neill being 19 at the time, and being an FBI informant at that young age. We look at that now, and that sounds nuts, to be the head of, to be the chairman for the Black Panther chapter in Illinois, and then to be an FBI informant at 19 years old. We look at that now, but I don't know if that came across in the movie, how young they were at the time. Do you think that could have added to the movie? You think that that's something that was important, or you think that's just not really an important part of the story?
I think it's an important part of the story because on one side, for the viewer, I mean, you see the times we're still in now, so and there may be that person out there that be like, that's like, oh well, I'm too young, or I'm too this and that. It just kind of goes to show you that like it doesn't matter. Like this, think about your average 21-year-old. Like I can tell you what I was doing at 21 years old. Like I was drunk out of my mind every weekend. I was lit. I wasn't thinking about leading no movement. I mean, our times they're different, but they're the same. Like I was 21 in 2012, so there's a difference in, and I was deployed, so so there's a big difference. But on the other aspect of it, it's like that you see how many people he had following him from all age groups, all types of, like he had these people who were in their late 40s and they falling on every word you're saying. They're cheering your name when you walk inside of a church. So yeah, I mean, I think it gives a little, for that to be a 21-year-old, I think it definitely gives something to the story.
I think it's definitely needed to. It could have been portrayed a little bit better, because I think it helps us understand a little bit more from both of their perspectives. Like a 19-year-old kid being threatened, with 8 years in prison and forced to do something like that. I think it kind of gives us a better understanding of why he made the decisions that he made, why he acted, because he acted scared. In my opinion, he showed off that fear a lot throughout the film, and knowing that he was that young kind of helps me understand that, because just looking at it at face value without knowing the ages, you kind of see you get a kind of an anger or a dislike towards the character. But now sitting back doing some research and learning that he's a teenager, what did you expect a teenager to do? It makes sense. Like when he was giving him $80, $100 to get all of this information that's obviously valued way more than, which is priceless in that particular. It makes sense why he was doing that. It makes sense why he was tearing up that steak, or the little kid game that he was playing, trying to steal and steal cars and stuff like that. And I think if they portray that a little bit better, I think the audience will understand where he was coming from a little bit more, because he was troubled, which is why, and they manipulated him to do those things instead of us just looking at him as like that Judas, that snitch, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest part of why they needed to portray that a little bit more.
I feel like Lakeith's character, I feel like even if Bill was a little older during that time, he still would have accepted that stake and those few $100s and all the little stuff they was giving him, because the way I viewed him in the beginning of the film, he was just this dude out here just doing little scams and stealing cars and just, not giving a shit about anybody but himself, just making sure he was good. And I don't know, I felt like that was his mindset. He was like, oh, this is a stake, I'm gonna take this. And he started dressing nice, he thought he was the shit. And even if he was like 30 years old, like in his mind, that's a come up. So, I mean, I get what you're saying, X, but in my opinion, I felt like even if the dude was like 30, he would have been like, all right, cool. I'm coming up right now. I'm getting paid more than what I was getting paid before. Yes, I'm an informant, but I'm getting a lot of money in a way. So
I would disagree with that, because he knew at certain points where he was wrong. Like once he started to see what they was doing, he started to realize what he was doing. And another thing also that I will point out is when he asked him about Malcolm X and Martin Luther, how he said that he really didn't pay attention to it. I think that also showed his childish mindset. And I think that's like what was Banks was saying. I think the difference between us in this age at 21 and them at 21 is that we now have so much more that we could do, that we get lost and get further and further away from that message. And those times, all of those things that we're doing now was pretty much cut off. So they had nothing but to pay attention to the message, if that makes sense. So I think that's one reason. And he was just that outcast from that. And I think it was just because of his childish mindset. So I think if he was 28, 30, after experiencing some stuff, I think he wouldn't have had that mindset.
That's crazy that you say that, because yes. So at some point, you can look at it like, all right, if you're not, if you don't have one thing that you're fighting for, or one thing that you believe in, what do you really stand for? That could show your youth. But I can, I've met, people 50-year-old plus that show their indifference and things like that. I didn't think the age thing really mattered. I don't think it was as important to the story to me, important to the story as the actual story itself, as telling, Fred Hampton's side, and to credit William O'Neill's side. But I mean, looking at those two characters, those are the two prominent characters that we're looking at, vice versa. I understood that Lakeith, he originally thought he was going to be playing Fred Hampton's role, and he didn't know that he was signed on to play William O'Neill's role, so he had to rework his mind and get into that character. Could you see Lakeith nailing that Fred Hampton role? Or, I mean, I thought he did a phenomenal job as William O'Neill, but could you see on the flip side?
That Fred Hampton role, and not even just from a looks standpoint, or I just feel like, I mean, he's definitely a talented guy. He's definitely a talented cat. I don't see it for me. I don't see that kind of. He's always, if you compare William O'Neill to some of the characters he's played in the past, he's kind of always played in a couple of his movies. He's an outcast from what he's even in Atlanta. His character is not like everybody else. He's a hard opposite of everybody else he hangs around. In the movie sorry for call where he plays the telemarketer.
Sorry to bother you.
Yeah, sorry to bother you. He's kind of a hard, different. I mean, the roles are very different in themselves, but I feel like I see that common denominator in each one of his roles. So I don't feel like I don't know. Maybe it's just because I've seen what Daniel Kaluuya did with it. So maybe I view it different.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think so. Maybe not. I think he would have gave it a hell of an effort though.
Yeah, Lakeith definitely has a talent to do it. Like if he was given a script and was like, "Yo, play Fred Hampton," he probably would have, did an alright job. But after seeing it, I'm thinking it was the right decision.
Were there any casting choices that you guys thought, maybe they could have went in a different direction, or you think everybody just nailed it solid?
Yeah.
I think everybody was solid.
I think they solid. I think they were solid.
Yeah, I think every last character was solid.
Oh, shouts to Dominic Fishburne.
Fishback.
Fishback. Yeah, Fishburne.
She's nice.
Yeah, she nice. She nice.
Yeah.
She bodied that role.
I only seen her in Project Power before, so
yeah,
I wasn't really too familiar with it. I thought she was actually a rapper in after watching Project Power. So now that I see that she has this type of range, I'm like, damn, we wasted a movie. I don't want to say wasted, but we got a movie with her and Jamie Foxx in it, and that's what we got out of it. I mean, that's a side.
You wanted more now?
Yeah, now like you have two actors with that kind of, that kind of range. You want to see something a little more next time, but whatever.
I get her feet wet. She gotta get her feet wet in there.
I actually got to get in the game.
Yeah, true.
As far as directing, Shaka King, I don't know how familiar you guys are with his work or his previous work, but what did you think with the representation of how he captured the 60s? And what did you think of what he did overall?
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, from a technical standpoint, cinematography and set design and the costume, everything, everyone was wearing and stuff, the cars. I felt like it was a very well captured environment of the 60s. But in general, my one of my favorite aspects of the film is like the cinematography. Like, that scene when they were driving up to that pool hall and, you got the reflection on the windshield and you could see the look on Lakeith's face, like in his eyes, and he about to get into some trouble.
When they fought the crowns, or are you talking about at the beginning of the? Yeah.
Well, no, yeah, when they were, like they were at the I think it was the Crown Pool Hall. That's what it was called.
Okay.
This is like Lakeith's second time going there, and he's like,
right.
"Oh shit, I've been here before."
Right.
Whoever the focus puller was on that film needs an award, because they like the way they shifted focus was on
capturing
point.
Facial expressions, capturing their emotions, like when the character is seeing something new.
Even from across the room, across the way, it was perfect.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Like when Buddy recognized Bill, like when he recognized him and he hit him with the I just want to give a shout to how quick his man's is. As soon as Buddy started talking, he popped him in the mouth and he was like, "You don't speak out of turn." Like,
he didn't even get to his second sentence. He was like,
right. I'm like, bro, my man's fast. But
they cut that together good.
I like how they piece together, as far as like the Shaka's his viewpoint. I like how they piece together everything and they show how militant everyone was, and you show how about this person, like this person is just how old girl with the fro, I cannot remember her character's name, how she was about Fred, and like how she was about to take Lakeith out, like she was quick with it, like she was, oh no, we about to handle this right now.
She's gonna come up.
Yes, and just how Buddy was about dude speaking out of turn, like that was really the case back then. Like they were really, like they operated like a small military. And like I really dug how he dove into that, and he had these characters where they were everybody was a hard opposite. Like nobody was the same. Like and they got my boy Ashton Sanders in there. Like they had him in there. I really appreciated how they dove into each character, and each character had their own little I don't know, their piece to give to the story, and they really pieced it together well.
When you mentioned that scene, go ahead, my fault.
What I was gonna say was just the way how like Daniel was consistent with the way that he was acting as like Fred Hampton. Just in any situation he was in, no matter what it was, like he walked in that room with the crowns and stood his ground, showed no fear. He went to I forgot the name of the group, the Confederates or whatever. He went in there with his mad Patriots. Yeah. He was just mad chill and just walked in there, did his thing and left. Like you never seen a scene where this dude was scared. Like that tells you what kind of character he was, and the dude was 21. Like it blew my mind. But keep saying what you were saying.
No, that's a good point. I mean, there's I was watching, what Lil Rel Howery is talking. He was talking about the film as well. I loved his role in it as well. But he was saying you're gonna probably know more Bill O'Neill's than you know Fred Hampton's.
Oh, of course.
Society. There's not too many. You can count probably on one hand, how many Fred Hamptons you're gonna run into. That type of conviction, just to stand there, when danger is imminent all around you at 21 years old at that, just to be like, nah, I stand by my convictions and, this is what I believe in. I'm ready to die for it, whatever. But no, what I was going back to what Banks said, when you're talking about that scene where, homegirl, I forgot her name too, but she had the gun to Judy. She had the gun to him. She was like, all right, let me see. His own gun, yeah.
You got your piece on you?
Yeah. Where is it? What box? Okay, let me see that.
Yo,
the whole thing where she was she had him and homeboy, I forgot his name, Ashton Saunders,
yeah,
in the back, put the gun to him, told him, go ahead and hotwire the car right now. Now at that point, I know that this is based on historical figures, and you might have already known the end already. But at that point, just the way that it was shot, did you feel like the suspense, like, oh, he about to die?
I felt like either. I know the story of Bill. I know like a Bill O'Neill. Mm-hmm. So I knew he didn't die at that point, but I was like, does she shoot him? Does he somehow get the gun and shoot one of them? Like, because of course I don't know their story. So I'm like, does he somehow get the gun? Like, how does this play in the story? Because they made that scene just like
they built that suspense.
Again, it was that, and it was fast. Like, it didn't take a lot of turnaround. It was quick. Like, she went from, yeah, we all standing here, we linked their arms, to, oh no, I need to handle this real quick. And drive around the corner, we about to handle this. So it just, even though, like you said, historical figures, so what happens with Fred Hampton, what happens with Bill O'Neill, but what particular part is about to happen right now for Bill O'Neill? Like, what happened? Yeah, it was definitely something that caught my eye, and something like that was really a movie, one of those movies that we've talked about that you didn't want to get up and miss nothing. Like, you really wanted to sit down and really enjoy that joint.
I think I felt the suspense because they led to it. So when dude stepped out and he smacked him, they focused on her and her reaction, and when they looked at him, when Bill came out and went straight to the car, they focused on him with the back shot of them grouped up talking about it, and you saw them looking at him. So she kept
looking at him.
Yeah, so they lead up to that. They kind of lead up to that suspense to let you know that it's leading to something, and I thought that was beautifully done. And it also, you felt the awkwardness when they got in the car, started asking those questions, and they got straight. And I think something else that helps with suspense is when creators get straight into it, right? Instead of playing with it or hinting at it, they get straight into it. Like, he asked him a question, he ain't answer, and then they got straight to the violence. He pulled his head, and I think that's helps with the suspense. It helps us because it's like it gives us that shock value. Like, because before then we didn't really know how dangerous they can be, right? Like, so we know they carry around pistols and stuff like that, but that was kind of the first time we really witnessed how dangerous they can be. You know, and then later on in the movie, you know, he get into a shoot off with the cops and then so forth, so forth. So I think when the shock value of it, I think is what helps with that suspense immediately, like get straight into it.
Yeah.
I would say the only thing that kind of threw me off on that particular moment was how quickly they came back to oh, okay, Wild Bill. Like like how quickly it switched back to, like, I was just 10 seconds ago about to put two holes in your head and not give like 2 cares about it. Like, and I felt like there were so many questions that they could have asked, so many more questions that they could have asked, but they were kind of like, all right, I was tripping. And I mean, in hindsight, you know, this is a movie. Like, of course, you want to see them. Like, of course, now that you know what you know, you want to see them. Yeah, shoot him. like we need to get this done. But it comes down to like, okay, that had to happen because this is what really took place. This is what happened. Like, of course now, maybe I wouldn't see it. Maybe I would see it that way too. Like, oh, okay, I was tripping because now I've seen the movie. But
yeah, part of me feels like they still was having second thoughts. Like, I don't know, this dude might be a Fed. Like, even after she was like, Wild Bill, I felt like they was still side-eyeing him a little bit.
She uncocked that gun kind of slow. She was like, wow.
Yeah.
I was like, all right.
Side note though, I do think we need more films with her type of character in the film. Like, there's so many films where we have like trigger happy male characters that's like quick to shoot, quick to get violent or whatever. And I feel like we don't have enough of those characters as women. But there are films that we do like that stands out, like New Jack City. Like the main one that was always ready, like that was always was 100.
Rockabye, baby.
I can't remember her name, yo.
And I feel like we need more. I would like to see more of that type of character in films when it comes to, you know, those type of films.
The actress's name.
Yeah, I don't remember her name either.
Beasley know all about New Jack Cities, and Beasley, that might be in your top 5. I don't know. I don't want to say your top 5, but how do you think, as far as when you bring that up, how women are written in Hollywood as opposed to this one? You think there's a stark contrast? Because, you know, you do, just like you said, there's a whole subgenre, you know, of women being written poorly in Hollywood, and people understanding that men writing women is probably the part of the problem. Do you think?
I think this story is a little bit different because these are true characters. Like, these are real people that they're writing from. So it would be you would be doing a disservice by writing her not who she was. So if she's really like that, then that's how you got to write it. You know what I'm saying? It's a part of the representation that comes with the story. But something that's fictional, like New Jack City, we do see that all the time where it's not. I don't know if it's terrible writing, but it's just we see it so often, and I think that's just pours from society. Like, maybe, you know, like we're always taught to write what we know, and if we don't know, you know, women who are so quick to jump on it like that, then it's kind of hard to write about it. But then that's when, you know, you got to bring in that creativity, that imagination, and the same character that you wrote for a male, just, you know, cast a woman to do it, to have those same traits, because it's true, and in some cases it's believable. You know what I'm saying? Just like the New Jack City character that we brought up, it's believable, and there's plenty of other characters that's like that, like Queen Latifah set it off. You know what I'm saying? There's always room for that character, and I don't know why we don't do it enough. It could just be the way society sees women in those particular characters.
A big part of it.
Yeah. So, but I would love to see more characters like that in films, because I just think it's dope.
I think, and I mean, to like go ahead and like agree with what you were saying, I feel like her character had to be written that way because it not even because of that's who she really was, but because, I mean, if you're thinking about in that time, like I said, how militant they were, that's the person you wanted to be. Like, she was one of his lieutenants. Like, that's the person I want beside me right there. Like, I need you to be able to, like, in that, when I'm in that type of setting, like if I'm gonna walk, I felt like that's why he was so comfortable walking into those establishments that he walked into, with the confidence that he had, and the swagger that he had, and the how calm he was. Like there's times like somebody raised a gun where he'd be like, whoa, but you never seen him get like, whoa, calm down. Like you always see him with that same even keel, like, man, what you doing? Like, so I feel like with those type of characters, you need that. So I wouldn't even necessarily say she was trigger happy. I would say she just knew what job she had to do and what it required. So she came ready for it. But I definitely agree that there's not enough females like that, female roles like that in Hollywood.
Yeah, I thought she was dynamic. I think when I think of that scene where she had to, where Bill said he's going to go on the roof before all that jumps off, she pulls Miss Deborah Johnson to the side. She's like, "Hey, get her out of here. It's about to go down." So, and then Deborah's like, "Nah, I can stick up for myself." And then she's telling her like, "Listen, I know what you're going through, whatever, you know. So as a woman, you know, I'm out of everybody here, I know exactly what you're going through." So I know, like, kind of like trying to reach out to her at that level. And then like 10 seconds later, she has a gun up on the window. Like for you to have that kind of range, you know, I don't know if I think it was a combination of good writing and, you know, good storytelling and, well, it actually happened, but, you know, good storytelling and the actual range as an actress to pull that off. You know, one of my favorite scenes. But did you have a specific scene that you go to in this movie that you thought, you know, that was your favorite, or that was a defining scene in the movie?
I would say the speech. I mean, I know it's kind of cliche because it was the trailer, but the speech, like if you just really sat back and watched it and kind of put yourself as an audience member and kind of envision yourself as someone being in there, not only did he like sound and act like just like if you watch the same speech that Fred Hampton actually did, that shit is identical. So
shit's scary.
Yeah, it's chilling. Like I was getting chills and everything. But yeah, that would be the scene for me.
I would have to go with the speech in regards to Lakeith. You know, he was in front, you know, going like this, looking at Mitchell, and you could see Lakeith kind of changing, and that's one of the great things I like about his character. He transitions like right there. Like it was a gradual transition from start to finish throughout the entire film, but I feel like that moment right there, he felt it. He was like, fuck, man, what do I'm really doing this man dirty. Like he was in a moment, he was actually believing all the things they were talking about. Mm-hmm. And you know, that's built up from him, you know, helping them out, rebuilding the headquarters and all that stuff. So yeah, that scene right there was crazy. It was powerful.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was that scene where his wife, where she got up and they didn't show them actually assassinate Fred Hampton, but they showed her expression and how she felt. I just thought that was a powerful moment for Black women and how strong, you know, Black women are as a whole. And then you just felt that representation just pour off the screen of everything that we seen, you know, growing up, learning about this history, learning about who was the supporters, who supported, who had our backs, and different things like that. And I felt like all of that was captured right there in her facial expression, knowing that what just happened without even having to see it. So I thought that was probably one of the more powerful scenes of the film.
And just to add on to that real quick, the dialogue that they were saying when they shot him, they were like, "Oh, he's still alive." And it's so goofy. It's so goofy, but I feel like that's how
corny they were.
That's something that I did want to speak about was the language and the dialogue that they had for the white characters. It just seemed so ridiculously believable. Like that whole conversation that they had about do you dig? Like dig? Do you dig it? Dig it? Like that whole entire conversation.
I never heard them say digging, yeah.
I just felt like that was so realistic. It was so true that they actually sat down and had this conversation. The whole TED talk about, you know, was Edgar trying to get these trying to get Fred Hampton. I felt like that was just so realistic. It's just so true, and we see it even today, like when people trying to utilize, Black culture language and try to flip it and make fun of it and make it seem like it's a joke, use it against us and have it. So that's something that I think people should dive into, because that's like a great dynamic aspect of the film, is the dialogue between all the characters, how militant, the respect that Fred Hampton had for these other gang leaders and the respect that was given back. Even the respect, like you mentioned, when he pulled up into the Patriots place, the respect with the Puerto Ricans, like, it's just like that dialogue just carries so much that he didn't even have to say so much to still project all of that information.
I would say that I had like 3 scenes that had me like that, and of course it's 2 that have already been touched on. It's the scene for the reason it was the speech, was because it was like you seen how much he meant to everybody that was in that church. So it's like you really see the how much he meant to them, and how, like, for you to be, you probably can't name one person you gonna go pack out a church for this man who's wanted by the police. Like, you guarantee you can't name probably one right now. You gonna go in there and chant his name like he Jesus. And then back to the scene where they did assassinate him. It was more so in me how her facial expression never changed. As soon as they walked out the room, she just had this still face, like she knew what was going to happen. And to speak more on who's always supported us Black men and who's always been there to have our back. Like, this woman is with child. Like, I can tell you how emotional my, and of course she's an actor, but I can tell you how emotional Caitlyn is right now. Like, I could fall and scrape my knee and she would fall apart being a pregnant woman. So for this woman to lose her lover, and you're understanding where you're going on, right, what's going on right now, that hit me. And I would say the scene where he is with Lil Rel and he chasing him out and he's like, show me your badge, like if you're a cop. And it shows how nervous he was, like how scared he was. And it's like, you're seeing someone really realize how bad they've done someone, or the reaper, they're about to see the repercussions of their actions come to fruition. And it wasn't even your life on the line. Like, we're just telling you, all you gotta do is get this done, and now he's dead. And you go from seeing a person who was so selfish and so stuck on himself to now, I mean, it still didn't affect him enough for him to go back and try to, like, to stop giving them information, but you really did see it, like, eating away at him. And when Lil Rel's character tosses him his own fake badge, it's like you just see his whole world come crashing down. So those were the 3 scenes for me.
I think you see his age there. I think you see his immaturity.
Yes.
I don't know, maybe I'm giving him a little bit too much with empathy, sympathy, or whatever, but I just felt like he was a kid and he was manipulated. And I feel like for a lot of kids his age could have fell into that position. And I just don't believe that initially he thought that they was trying to assassinate him. Right? Like, that was the outcome. You know what I mean? So
I gotta say, you knew that, because my argument is your same argument that you made earlier. At these times, it's too easy for, like I told y'all, when I was in the army, I had soldiers who they really aren't aware, like, what's going on, even though we have it all at our fingertips. Like, all you got to do is log on, but it's a choice. Like, you still have to get on there and do your research. Back then, bro, you knew exactly, like, this was how you were raised. Like, the dude, when Jake goes to the guy's house and he's trying to figure out what happened to Ashton Saunders' character, he's like, yo, they took my friend, like, what's going on? He said, man, he was like, man, you think I'm about to mess up my money with these white people? Like, you were raised in that time, so you understand what's going on. Like, you know for sure, for certain, they don't want us to have any power. They didn't want us to be in. So to say he didn't know they were gonna kill Fred, I can't buy that. I can't.
I think he was just lit. I think he didn't know. I think it's hard to believe, and I can't compare him to today's kids because we have there's so much distraction today that's different than before. So I couldn't compare the two. But in that time, and I go back to him asking him, like, how did you feel about Malcolm X? How did you feel about Martin Luther? And his responses told me that he was numb to those ideas or that education or that mindset of things. And we can also argue that the only reason why he was with them or even did the Black Panther thing and even learned that information is because the FBI forced him to. Because if he didn't get caught that day robbing those cars, he's still been out robbing cars, bliss to what's going on, right? So to think that, you know, and they don't show us, we don't know his backstory, we don't know who his parents was, just like they don't show us Fred Hampton's backstory, who his parents was. We don't know how, by the story, by the film, we don't know how he picked it up or anything like that. It just gives us this, you know, short amount of time in their life, and they're telling this story from 66 to 69 or whatever the case may be. So I think it's just hard to believe he was just so childish and lost in that time. I don't think he knew.
Yeah, I think if he would have known, he would have. If he would have known he would have died, he would have already been a Panther. Like, he would have already been like a more cognitive person. He wasn't like, he was just a hustler on the streets, like that type of person. Like back in the 60s, either you was, you know, a hustler, a junkie, or you was militant and you was already in the Panther. So he was, I don't think he would have known. I think he just was just trying to, you know, come up. I thought he just could, he probably felt like he could have got out of his situation as long as he just did what he was supposed to do.
It's a tough one because he like called him a couple times. He called Mitchell a couple of times, like, yeah, he's in jail now. So am I done? Is this over?
Exactly.
So he could technically, like, you know, subconsciously know, like, yeah, they might off this dude, but from what we saw on screen, it was like he was making it seem like, oh, he's in jail, so my job is done, right? Like, he was making it seem like that's how it was.
We're also thinking it from the point of, like, to us in today's time, we're saying every Black Panther leader got assassinated. And that's, you know, that's just not the truth. Like, not every leader
not every
got assassinated, just these major ones. So to go back in that time, maybe the government assassinating people wasn't, I mean, of course, I don't know. We have to speak to people from that time. Maybe it wasn't something that crossed his mind at that time based on what they knew at that time, if that makes sense.
I thought it was willful ignorance.
That's what I think. I think it was willful ignorance. I think he knew there was a possibility, but he was just like, I'm not going. I think he got to a point where he was like, I'm not gonna stress myself, like, focusing on this and harping on this, because you still have to think about, at these times, we start the movie off, Martin Luther King has been assassinated already. Malcolm X has been assassinated already.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do
with
him.
I'm just saying, even Ashton Saunders particular. So it's to say you didn't know this, like, this is at this point, Fred Hampton is a strong Black political figure. At this point, what do they do to those? They either lock you in jail and throw away the key. And what was they doing all through the movie? Hampton, they said he stopped driving because he got tired of getting trumped up charges. They had to take this man to jail over ice cream. He wasn't doing anything for them to incriminate him. So what's the next step? If we can't lock you up for good, you gotta die.
But
you're kind of proving the point, though.
O'Neal was a stick-up boy, man. He wasn't, like, knowledgeable like that. He wasn't in the streets knowing.
If it's going on all around you, like, I doubt. I can't say you didn't know that.
But hold on, BC, hold on, because when you say he's a stick-up boy, he's not just your regular stick-up boy. Like who thinks? Like, at the beginning, he already knows. He's not dumb. Like, he's saying like the badge is more scarier than the gun. I can go in there with no gun on me at all and come out with the red GTO. And he's thinking on that level, and you think of somebody with that kind of intelligence to go with that. You're seeing all your friends. Well, you're supposed friends we see dying.
All right, so I get what you're saying. Like, I'm not saying like the dude's an idiot. What I'm saying is he's not hip to, like, politics and what's going on if you mess with the FBI and that kind of thing, and if you follow a certain movement and that type of thing. Let's think about your typical your best dope boy, your most sophisticated dope boy who has, you know, You know, let's take your stereotypical ones from your movies. Who has the females cooking naked so they don't steal from you, and security guards and the lookout boys and da. That's a smart dude. But does he know what's going on in the Capitol building, or who's in the Senate, or who's in the? You see what I'm saying? Like he's not
ignorance. That's what I'm saying. Like just because you see a whole bunch of people just die in car accidents, and they didn't wear their seatbelts, and you'd be like, all right, well, it can't happen to me. I'm still not gonna rock my seatbelt. I'm not gonna give you the benefit of the doubt. You seeing your people dying, well, your people. You seeing your people that you formed a bond with, over this time that you're a CI, that you're an informant, dying right in front of you from the same chapter of the Illinois Party. What makes you think the most important person in that chapter is not going to catch one?
Facts.
Like they've been killed for much less.
Because like I said, he said just like Banks was saying earlier about, when he called, it was like, look, he's in jail. Is the job done? He really thought all he had to do was, all I got to do is do my job, and this will all go away. As
that
dumb
wasn't
as it
saying
sounds.
y'all weren't going to kill him. That's saying y'all have him now, so now can I go?
That's what I'm saying. That's why
that was the whole point. That's why I say
I don't ever think that he was thinking, they're gonna kill him. Yeah, he's just thinking like, I just got to get this job done.
And he didn't want to.
I agree. He definitely didn't want to.
Right. I agree with that. I'll agree with that.
He got to that dinner table. He got to that dinner table with Mitchell and was like, fuck. As soon as he told him that he had to kill him, because it was probably in the back of his mind, like, fuck, I really didn't want this shit to happen. But
I mean, I'm not saying he didn't. It's just for me, it's not hard to figure out. Like people were saying it then. Like I've talked to my grandparents about this shit. Like people were saying it then. Like, yeah, Dr. King was assassinated. Like it's not hard. Like Ashton got drug off. Like he's not even the main guy. He got drug off, and they said they killed him. Like they killed him. He was perfectly fine in there after they.
You can't say that. That was assumptions.
But okay,
so
is it hard to believe?
When they showed him dragging him off and kill him?
No, what I'm saying is the way the knowledge got to people is an assumption. We're looking at it from people watching a film and knowing the history, but we're arguing his point that of him being in that time not knowing this information. And we know that he didn't know this information because as his character develops, we see him gain knowledge. We see him become a different person as it got to the point. Now, yes, at some point, he realized that they was gonna kill Fred Hampton, but it was too late then. He already done what he had done. And I believe. But the initial aspect, there's no way he was like, I know they're gonna kill him based on what happened to these other guys.
But I'm saying way before he got to the point where he definitely said, okay, we gotta kill him, and he slaps the table. I think he knew before then. That's what I'm saying. I'm thinking because one, he didn't have no choice in getting into this. It was either that or go to jail. He didn't want to go to jail. So that was his only choice. So going into it, I'm not saying he chose to go betray Fred Hampton and set him up for murder. What I'm saying is before he got to that point of when Mitchell told him, yes, we're going to kill him, I think he had that, like he said, he was willfully ignorant. Like he's like, okay, they haven't said it. But I think somewhere in your head, if you're going through what they're explaining they're going through in the movie, there's no way you didn't see this man getting killed.
I don't think so. I think he was more mad at the fact of looking at what he's done to get to that point, because they needed him to do what he had to do to get there. And I think that was a moment of realizing that this wasn't about me going to jail. Like this was never about me. Right. This man played me, and he was so vulnerable to this man because he even said it. Like I looked at him as a role model. I didn't look at Malcolm X. I didn't look at these other dudes as role models. I looked at him, this FBI agent, as a role model, and he was playing an FBI agent. Yeah, I remember that. Like he started acting like he was an FBI agent. This white man was his role model. He was
he started wearing suits like him.
So he was immature. And he was blind to that he was being used. And because he was so lost in that mindset that he didn't realize what they were actually doing. So it's hard for me to believe that he thought they was actually going to kill him, because he thought he was doing the right thing because this man was his role model. So he was lost in that idea. So it's just hard for me to think that he knew that, which is why they kept it from him, that he knew that they was going to kill this man.
I don't
agree
think
with everything you're saying. I think he was just naive.
I just don't think he was that oblivious to it. I agree with everything you're saying. I just don't think he was that oblivious to it.
I think, like, even if you look at the actual Eyes on the Prize 2 documentary, the interviews with him, I tried to, you know, I got like halfway through, but even from the beginning, he's sitting there, he's using the terms we and us, and as far as him and the FBI, like he's
really thought
he's like really an age. This is 89. This is in 1989. So like you really thought like he was, his mind was warped. But I didn't get to give my favorite scene. Let me get back to that.
But really quick before you do that, I kind of feel like I know it was that, because shortly after that interview, when he realized that like, yo, this not really he killed himself.
No, I don't think that.
That wasn't his first attempt either.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, once he realized what he did, he felt so bad that he felt that he needed to take his life.
Couldn't live with it.
Couldn't live with that.
That's what I'm saying.
But side note, Wild Bill O'Neal is a sucker.
Yeah.
That's all I want to say.
Big time.
I just want to say that. That's all.
Yes.
Go ahead, Judas. What you were saying?
Yeah. Favorite scene for me. Okay, I know we're going to run it back, but we're going all the way back because everybody got these stuff off. Hold on, all right. So, when I first heard about the movie, when I first seen the trailer, like the beginning of last year or whatever, probably one of the best trailers I've seen that year or in a while, in a minute. Even I still look at that trailer to this day, but the way that everything was cut and set up. But that scene was kind of what drew me. When you sitting here, you seeing him speak to the people in the church, talking about I am a revolutionary, and them shouting back at him. And then you look at what's going on inside of that, there's so many different things when you watch the movie that come to a head at that point. So you're looking at his wife, looking at him, looking at, okay, you know, how can I bring a child into this world, but I still want to support, you know, but I know that we're in imminent danger. Then you got Roy, FBI agent Roy Mitchell, at the actual rally, acting like he's part of the Rainbow Coalition, and he's looking at William O'Neal, and you know William O'Neal has to, you know, he can kind of almost believe that, you know, he's in character, but then he gets brought back down to reality once he sees Roy Mitchell's face. You got the head of the Crowns showing up, you know, at that point and giving their support to the Rainbow Coalition. It was everything around that scene, because from that point, I think everything went. That's when I felt like me. That was the climax. Everything went in different directions from that point. From that point on, but that was by far my favorite scene. And as far as how that I got drawn into the movie, it started from the trailer for me. That point, from that point, that's what I believe. But yeah, my fault. I didn't mean to go aside from the Rainbow Coalition.
Nah, you good.
I have a question about one scene. The scene where Mitchell was in, I think it was J. Edgar Hoover in that room, and he was like asking him about his kids and stuff. What was the point of that scene? Like, were they trying to label Mitchell as like, oh, he's not that racist, or like how were they?
I believed, and this is something I've discussed with. I mean, being from Arkansas is racist as hell. This is something I've discussed with my grandparents. I believe there are some who they were racist not because they genuinely had a hate for it, but they were racist because it was what everybody else did. It was what everybody else that I love and I care about and I'm around and I work with do. And I feel like in the beginning of the movie, I felt like Mitchell would do just enough to get his job done. Like he wasn't gonna go above and beyond. Like I need to kill that one black dude. That's it. And it was like even how you see it progress and how he interacts with O'Neal. Like at first, I come at you as like, look, man, I'm trying to help you out. It's the best I can do for you. Like you can do these 5. What was it? 5 years. It was 2 years for the
18 months and 5 years.
18 months and 5 years. For the impersonating FBI agent and stealing GTO. So he comes to him and he presents it to him like a friend. And I think it got to that point. You remember when he's telling them information, they're like, yeah, we know that. And he's kind of like, okay. Because Now, he's the one that I really believe he thought the plan was just to get Fred Hampton off the street. Like, we just need him off the street. He thought they were going to Huey P. Newton him. We just going to lock you up forever. And then when you die, we just going to lock you away. That's all we can do. And he's kind of seeing it turn, and he's like, oh, we're doing that. And he figures out he's not as in on the loop as he thought he was. And then it's like, well, I think they could see doubt in him, because often in things like that, you could see doubt in somebody. Like, you might not get this done. You might not carry this through. So you bring up his kids and you bring them like, look, you got something to lose out of this. So get what I need you to get done. So I feel like that's what that was with them mentioning his children. And you see, he knew the exact age of his daughter. She's about 8 months now, right? So I felt like that's more so what that was, trying to ensure that he was really tied in and they could get him to do what they needed him to do.
I got two things. I found it interesting that you believe that the cop didn't know, the FBI agent didn't know that they was going to assassinate him, but the cop who didn't know was fooling the kid knew. That just don't make no sense to me.
And here's why. You've been in the military, right? Mm-hmm. A lot. You have those people who are just point and go. He was one of those point and go people, but but to him, the way he was portraying himself to O'Neal, he was like a big dog. Like he talked to O'Neal like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. And I felt like for that, like with him and them, he didn't really know, oh, you're just a point and go person. Like, all right, we need you to go do this. That's what you're going to do. That's it. And on his side, on his half of that perspective, the way he was portraying everything to O'Neal, he was running like he seemed like the boss. Like at first, throughout the movie, before they got to showing Hoover and everybody else, I thought he was going to be kind of like the what's an Elliot, like an Elliot Ness, like a kind of like he was gonna be the head dog on the case. Like I didn't see them playing like he coming into the movie. I thought he was gonna have a much bigger role. I mean, he still had a large role, but I thought he was gonna have more of a, I guess, like a say so in the movie than he did.
He had the biggest role for the FBI in the film.
But wouldn't that prove the point though, that of how?
I don't see it that way, and because him not being a black man, period. Bill O'Neal, like, you was raised on these streets, regardless. I just don't see how y'all saying this man is so oblivious to you not knowing what
the man leading him. The man leading him to do what he do was oblivious. I don't understand. Like, I don't get it.
I know. It just because I mean, you can see it in the meetings when he's going in and he's telling them information, and they're like, yeah, we know that already. You could see the look on his face. He was oblivious to it to an extent. Like, he didn't know. He didn't. You see him tell them, oh yeah, we just did this, and dude was like, yeah, I know. And he was like, oh,
talking about Georgia Sims.
Yeah. So you see him oblivious. Like, you can literally see it all over his face. But when he's talking to O'Neal, it's a completely different person. He doesn't even like, of course, because this is this black kid you just pulled off the streets, and
you have to control. He has to control him. So like, he has to play that part.
Yeah,
so
that's normal. That's all they all do. That's not.
But what you're saying is that y'all were feeling that he was just as oblivious. I don't feel that Bill was as oblivious as he seemed, because of, I just don't believe you don't know anything. You just really out here. You just reeling dealing. You just out here just running around going crazy.
All right, so here's the other thing. Like, you guys brought up age 1,000 times. The man was 19. Like, if you not like what you just said, when you was 19, you wasn't thinking about nothing like that.
And he had no guidance.
This is at the time when people
and no guidance, right?
Water hoses in the middle of the street.
I feel you, but if you
don't got no political.
That's if you lived in Birmingham, but if you grew up somewhere else.
Chicago, this was definitely happening.
All right, but so my man was out here robbing and stealing. You think he was worried about goddamn police?
Politics?
Nah, man, he wasn't worried about that stuff, man.
You're not following politics.
We just gonna have to agree.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
I feel like for that, I don't feel like you have to follow politics to see the blatant shit that's going on around you. But like
we're not talking about the blatant stuff that's going around. We're talking about, because the FBI what they was doing was behind the scenes, that you had to be involved in it to know what's going on. he was not involved in it to know what was
Behind the
going
loop.
on. The average person that was just on, like when he went to go speak to those students, he was speaking to the people in the daishiki. I don't think they knew that the FBI was.
COINTELPRO was probably the first of its kind.
So that's what I was gonna say. Like the FBI, right? Like Fred Hampton was telling the people, "Yo, the FBI is following us, listening to us." And how many people was like, "Yo, you tripping?
Yeah,
You're tripping. You're tripping."
Mhm.
So like, how would that be so crazy for Bill to not
know
be,
any of that?
Come on, man.
No,
You give
no.
Bill too much credit. Maybe you like
Yeah.
Lakeith a lot. I don't know what it is. Maybe
Now,
you're
I just
Lakeith.
think that we're looking at it from a point of view of we know what's happening, we know the history, we know what's going on, but we're not taking into the fact that we have to see it from his point of view as being a 19-year-old kid in the late 60s instead of being, 30-year-old men,
black kid.
30-year-old men
Any
in
19-year-old
2021.
kid is willfully ignorant.
Yes. No matter how intelligent they are,
don't want to believe
still
what they don't want to believe.
naive and ignorant.
You just gotta assume.
Like I said, going into it, like when he first got it, I said, I don't believe, I don't believe he knew shit. Like I said, I agree with y'all. I'm saying before he got to the point to where he was like, we gonna kill him, somewhere in the middle of that what was it, 4 or 5 years? Somewhere
It was less than
I
that.
think he had an idea.
It was between 66 and 69 or something like that. Even less, I think, for him.
I think he had an idea of they gonna kill this man, and I think he was just like, maybe they won't. But I think the idea was there. I truly believe the idea was there.
I think the way the writers and the director set it up, he gave us too many hints to sway from that for us to want to think that in a way, because he just gave us so much information about who are your leaders. He told us that he looked up to this FBI agent, the money, all of these different things, the reason for him doing it. It just shows that, in my opinion, the way it was written to get away from that idea that he really didn't know, that he was really oblivious. Even the interview,
all of that to him,
because I think the film is really from Bill's point of view.
Mm-hmm. More so, he has more screen time, like way more screen time.
Now, even just like the
conversations, even the perspective,
the perspective, the
I'm just saying, like,
everything.
That's how it came together.
Made to tell the story from his point of view. Like, you're supposed to see this. I feel like that's why the Judas part is first in it. Judas and the Black Messiah. I feel like it was made for you to see it, for you to be more, for us to be more entrenched in what Bill had going on.
Mm.
So
when Ken and Keith Lucas, the two twin comedians, they're the ones that came up with the treatment for this. It's really their story. Well, not their story, but they're the ones that really came up with the treatment for it. And then they brought it to Shaka, because they were working on an FX pilot or something like that. Yeah. And then that's how it came together. But when they first were reading about Fred Hampton, they saw like in the, like one of the books that they were reading, there was like a small little blip, like a paragraph about William O'Neill, and then that was it. They didn't go into detail, so that they dug into more. That's why they wanted to, tell it not like as a regular biopic, but something, that's not kind of linear, something that you can go around. But now I wanted to get back to Terrell's question, from, in that room, when you see those 3 white FBI agents, I think that represents, kind of like the spectrum of white racism, where you got your extremist, you got J. Edgar Hoover, he's going to go, it's not even about the job at this point. It's really about, just making sure these blacks are in their place and that, we don't let them uprise against us. And then you've got, the second in command, his immediate supervisor, not J. Edgar Hoover's immediate supervisor, Roy Mitchell's guy. He's going along with whatever J. Edgar Hoover says, and he's looking at Roy Mitchell like, all right, so are you rolling with us or not? Get it done. And then you got your white moderate. So the white moderate is just pretty much, I'm racist, but I don't look at myself that way. And I mean, cool. Civil rights. Everybody else does it. Yeah, civil rights is cool, but whatever. They gotta. He even says, you can't cheat your way to equality. Which makes no sense whatsoever. But yeah, you can't cheat your way to equality. You know what I mean? So they got to be in their place, whatever. So he's looking at it just like when you say like looking at it from a job point of view. That's the way he looks at it. J. Edgar Hoover being the brilliant, nefarious, villain that he is in real life and in the movie. he notices that, and so he brings him aside because he knows how important Roy Mitchell is to the mission. And then he's sitting there. He brings his daughter up, so he hits him right in the core of what can I get this dude to really like see that this is beyond just the job. This is the point of what we're trying to accomplish. And I think he did that talking about his 8-month-old daughter sleeping with a black guy. Like, come on, like there was nothing too far. There was nothing that crosses the line for Hoover at that point. But yeah, I thought that
point. That was
just
listen.
It was just
Listen, y'all gotta realize, man. That's how that dude roll. Period. From jump, like that's just how he rolls. So that
this
I think
cross-dressing ass man.
That scene was like super important because you kind of had to like for this movie because you had to kind of see the other side. Because I mean, of course, we want to see our blackness, our greatness, and it was great seeing all of that. But we have to see the other side of what's going on in the middle of all this, unification and show the whole story and like just like how you laid it out, Gills, the from extreme to the least extreme. Like that was a good scene. I mean, of course, we hate it because of the context of what it was actually being talked about, but it's very important for the movie. It moved the story along.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but it's also what's great about this is that I like how it's making people uncomfortable. Like the truth always makes people uncomfortable. And I like how they show the FBI for what they actually were or are in this moment. They didn't hold it back. They didn't hide it. They didn't try to cover nothing up. Like this is actually what they did. They used their agents as pawns. They had a mission. They had a goal, and they did whatever it is to get that goal. And I liked how in some parts where they didn't show the reasons why they was doing these things, because at that point the reasons didn't really matter. Like, for example, why was they at the Black Panther little building holdup? Like, what was the point of them being there? Like, they never really showed why they was there. They just showed the police is outside holding them front. They're inside, they're not about to let nothing pop off, and then it's a gunfight. Right? So
but now they increased presence and after
but they don't say why. Like they don't show why. Like they don't say. I mean, we
got
all
shot. The cops got shot
on the mic. Yeah, he said cops got shot. He said y'all can thank the Black Panther Party for the reason that the presence is out here in whatever.
When Ashton Saunders' character shot the cop.
Yes, but what I'm saying is they don't. They went straight there. You know what I'm saying? Like they didn't show us a scene of cops in this area with this gang or cops in that area with that gang. They went directly to that building where they know Fred Hampton, reside and did what he did out of, you know what I'm saying? And they wanted to do is what I mean. And that's what the FBI did, right? Because I don't think there wasn't a point where they were saying this Black Panther went in there and shot 2 cops.
I think that was the. I mean, I feel like
that was the point.
I don't know if you're looking at it from this perspective. Like, I feel like that was the point, though. Like the whole movie. I mean, if you look at a lot of racist acts that have been documented, a lot of it is we already don't like you. We would kill you just for it. But these days, we kind of need kind of a reason. So we need any reason. So when he shot the cop, it was like, oh, we can go do what we need to do now. Now we can go pop up at the. So I feel like that's what that was for.
That's what I'm saying. They didn't show.
Oh, okay,
They didn't give us a reason or a backstory or
what more could they have done to show you?
Like I said, they could have said. He said that there's more police presence here. They could have shown us. They could have shown police over here. They could have shown police there. Like they could have did a wide angle shot opening up into the scene, but they didn't. They went directly to. They're in front of this particular building that they know Fred Hampton and the Black Panther set up, and they're there to take it down.
Fred was locked up, wasn't he? Yeah, he
was locked up.
Yeah, because their plan, they wanted to take Fred Hampton down and the Black Panthers.
Did anybody look up how long they had him in jail for that ice cream? I didn't remember them saying how long it was.
It wasn't that long because he got out.
I remember it was like
2 to 5.
From the way they
5, right?
He's supposed to have 2 to 5. He said he got 2 to 5.
But he was out on bail.
He got out on bail.
His appeal got denied.
Okay. Yeah, he was out on bail. I think
his appeal got denied, so he was going to go back in.
Yeah.
Because I was looking at it because you remember when he go in jail, I guess they had just and he come out and she's showing like I'm like, how long was he locked up?
Probably a couple months, because remember they even said it that it started the party started to die down. They was losing people who wasn't joining as much.
Yeah.
That is something that they could have done a little bit better, like give us better time, like maybe put up a time card with just a random date to let us know. I don't think they did that at all, right? I don't think they.
No.
I think they relied
That's
more on us having background, like back knowledge coming into the film than giving us that knowledge.
Because at one point in the movie, I was confused when Ashton. Well, I mean, not when Ashton, but when Bill is originally stealing the GTO, and you remember his hat pops up, and they're like, "Yo, you a kid?" And I'm like, because first of all, Lakeith Stanfield did not look like a kid in that movie. Yeah. It looked like he was almost to his 40s. So I'm looking at the screen. I'm like, at that particular shot.
Granted, in the 60s,
and then
everybody
I
was
didn't even know Fred Hampton was that young. So I'm looking at it, and I'm just like, how old is he supposed to be? So when they were saying Fred Hampton was 21, that's how I figured out Bill was only 19, because I had to go look everything up. So yeah, I feel like they relied heavy on everyone having a knowledge of the info before the film. So
even if you look at the actual footage, Daniel, Fred Hampton, he looks, or his presence seemed a lot older.
Yeah, he definitely looked older too. He didn't look 21.
I think I was just like at the times.
I think the times was
hard.
I think everybody looked
right. My question is, how do y'all think this film is gonna? How do you think people is gonna react to the film as it circulates? Do you think it's gonna be something that we're gonna be watching 20 years from now? How do you think people is gonna take it from both communities, from the Black community, the white community, etc.?
I'll go last. Y'all go ahead. I
think it's gonna inspire a lot of other creators, as far as from that end. As far as when I mean inspire, more unify, if anything. I don't know if it's gonna be a direct impact where everybody's going to join arms just like the Rainbow Coalition did, but you can see that a lot of the same problems that we were having back then are the same problems we're having now, that they're using race as a mask to hide behind classism, as far as to put everybody in their place. Because you can see between the Lords and the Patriots and the Black Panthers that we're all having the same issues, yet we still hating on each other for no reason. That kind of message that film brings across can resonate today, and I think it will. I'm just mad that it didn't get a chance to go into like a mass audience in theaters. We have to rely on HBO Max right now because of the pandemic. I think that would make it more of an impact if it was in theaters, worldwide. I mean, but I'm sure it's in select theaters right now, but I think we're gonna have to wait until it comes available on video on demand, and on, or when it gets to movie Oscar time, the Academy Awards, that you're going to see this is going to get more traction. But I think the point of this was to unify.
What about you, BC? What you think? Oh, go ahead, Charles.
Oh, my bad. I definitely think that this film is going to be talked about years from now. In my opinion, I think it's something I'm going to go back to and watch here and there. Just the different characters, you can just pick them out, and that there's someone like that, out here today. And that's why I asked a question about the scene with the FBI agents, because you have different ranges of people that are hardcore, like, let's kill these niggas, whatever. And then you have someone who's kind of on the fence. And when he asked him the question, like, okay, if your daughter brought home a black dude, how would you, what would you do? And when he hesitated, that's when I was like, oh, okay, I see what they're kind of trying to do. So I think there's different people to pay attention to in that film. Lakeith's character, definitely Daniel's character, Fred Hampton, and it's just a very important part of history. So, yep.
What you think, Beasley?
I'm gonna be watching it. in whatever 10, 20 years, I think people will be watching it. I agree with Gills. I think it sucks that the pandemic hit, so the normal response that you would get when you go to the theaters, you're not going to get that. So, but other than that, I mean, it did go to a lot of select theaters. So, but yeah, they're going to miss out on that. But other than that, I think it's going to be great. I think it's something we can learn from, something we can unify from, and get a lot of good stuff from.
To kind of, I guess it kind of goes against Gil's point. I feel like the pandemic for this particular type of film, I feel like it has its pros and its cons. Like, yeah, you will get the turnout that you would normally get, but in the time that COVID has hit since last year, we've had so many things go on in this past year, dealing with police brutality and dealing with racism and dealing with this same message that they were trying to get out back then, that now that you're in the house, what the hell else are you going to be watching? So to answer your question, X, I definitely feel like this movie will be watched. However, I think the question we got to start asking now is this movie gonna start getting watched by other people? Like in 20 years, are anybody other than Black people gonna be watching this movie? Because I feel like the message it obviously has to get to. It has to get to that the other communities as well, so they can start hearing what the hell we have to say. But I don't know if this is the film. It should be. It's a very powerful film. My kids are gonna be watching it. It's definitely gonna get played in my house, but I don't know. I feel like it could definitely be, but in what household, I don't know.
Like, Dad, can we watch Dora the Explorer? No, sit down and watch Judas and the Black Messiah.
Watch American Scam.
I don't think it's important. I don't think it's important for other communities to watch the film, because I don't think the film was made for other communities. I think this film was made for our community, and as long as our community watches the film, it's going to be successful and it's going to ride out, and we're going to be able to see it in 20 years. I think I like it because the other side is not going to watch it, but they are going to have comments. They're going to have opinions. They're going to comment on Facebook, Instagram, whatever. They're going to have comments and they're going to have opinions, and that's going to spark up conversations. And then that's when I feel like we needed to watch the film to be unified on one front to combat all of those ridiculous conversations. I think, in my opinion, I think it kind of starts right there. When we having conversations about it, we all know the truth. We all know what it is. And when somebody say something stupid about it, we have the ability to say something like, nah, you're wrong, you're stupid. This is not what it is. And then somebody else step in and be like, yeah, you're not making no sense. This is what it is. And then we all share that view. Then I think that's something. So that's why I always like films. That's why I like film in general, but that's why I like films like this, is that it starts conversations, because even the other side that doesn't watch the film, they're still going to have an opinion, even though it could have absolutely nothing to do with them. And then that's what sparks those conversations and that unity and that togetherness that I feel like our community need to get behind these type of films.
I think the main conversation, I mean, I think if people were going to jump straight to, the racism and the classism, things like that. But I think the main conversation that can be taken away from, or that may be the discussion going forward, is capitalism versus socialism. I think what he was trying to accomplish, him being, a radical socialist, versus, the super capitalistic society that we live in America, is that's going to be something where I think it's going to raise more eyebrows as far as, hey, maybe we can borrow some things from, like these socialist principles or whatever like that. But I think that's one of the things that the movie, I didn't know that he was that heavy into socialism before watching the film.
And I said what I said, like, about other people needing to watch it. If we're gonna start talking about like change from like to starting to get away from racism, of course, it's gonna always have success in our community. Of course, like I feel like that's gonna go. As long as we watching it, it's gonna always have its success. I was just talking about as if we're progressing towards a change in things, then they would need to. But nah, I feel like the last year with everything that went on And then with the films that have come out, I mean, we're talking about American Skin. We're talking about One Night in Miami. We talking about this all coming back to back off one another. I feel like we definitely hitting none but home runs right now.
All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and get to the part where we rate the movie. How you guys felt. You guys know our rating scale. So I'm gonna go ahead and go first. My rating for this movie, certified real, Judas and the Black Priest, and Black Messiah. Certified real. You heard it. Y'all need to go watch this twice. I'm about to go watch this after this is over again for like the third time since it's come out. So certified real. Beasley Adams. Bang, bang.
That's one in the books. Listen, this is the first certified real that I voted for on this show. And I think it might get, I don't want to put any pressure on y'all, but I think it might get that unanimous. I think this might be the first in the show's history. This might be the first unanimous certified real. I don't know. That's my guess. But yeah, it's a certified real for me. Isn't it? I didn't even look at the other rankings.
Thanks.
You know, this is a easy
choice and a half.
Okay.
Easy pick for me. This is a certified real. This is
okay. Your tone sounded different.
We understand that. We understand that. I had to get suspense. What you got, bro? What you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with certified real. That was like, as soon as I finished the first watch, I was like, yeah, I'm rating it this automatically.
Okay.
Because just Lakeith's character, fire. Daniel, fire. The whole story, fire. I was like, certified real. That's it.
Yeah.
I have no other explanation, honestly.
4 for 4 from the field. Let's go. What you got?
Okay. He about to mess it up right now.
Yeah, don't have a
curveball.
I'm gonna go with certified real also because the acting was on point.
Okay.
I thought the story was great. I thought everything about the film was on point. I don't see no reason why not to give it a certified real. People definitely need to go out and see it, even if you're not interested in the film. It's our history, it's our culture, and you should be able to, showcase to get that information. And that's really what, in my opinion, film is all about. So definitely with y'all on the certified real.
You got it. You heard it here first. This is a 5 for 5 certified real. Real talk certified real. Hey, when they go promote the movie on the next commercials, they got to put that on there. And real talk.
Nah, because you said that last time. Then you turned and then give the movie a certified real. Like you.
Yeah, I said
then give the movie a certified real. Bro.
If it ever happens, and it's happened this week. So you know what I mean?
All right, let's. All right, people. That was our review on Judas and the Black Messiah. Y'all got any closing notes, fellas?
Stay black.
Always. All right, people, we good. We out.